and start our session. Okay, so welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're happy to have you on our webinar. I'm seeing some notes about waiting a couple of more minutes. So maybe I can wait one more minute more, and then we'll hit it because we have a lot of people. And okay, let's give thank you for the note. I see you guys couldn't sign up immediately, so we'll wait one more minute just to give everyone the chance to. Okay, one more minute. All right, I think I need to start because the recording then is going to be quiet. I'll start with unimportant things, which are the welcome. So the welcome, and hopefully people will by then be here. So thank you for coming to our monthly webinar today. So it's March, so we'll be covering probably things that you will see on April. We'll go through my presentation, so I'll share with you in a minute. We'll go through the presentation and hopefully we'll have time for questions as well. So let's start with sharing, and we'll leave the questions to the end. Okay, so what are we covering this time? Okay, so as always, we'll talk a little bit about the status of the Rapido community, and we'll go through our April release, and which you all should have already sandboxes. And we'll cover our little Rapido frequently asked questions corner, and then we'll move, I'll stop sharing and we'll move to questions. Okay, so where we are today. First of all, we want to give a warm welcome to our Hong Kong sites that are already live. So as you can see, our community is expanding, and it's very exciting to see it get up until Hong Kong, which is amazing. In addition to that, Eluna is fast approaching us, and we're all already planning our sessions, and I want to invite those of you that will be able to make it in person, the first Eluna after a couple of years of not having an in-person meeting, to come and reach us. The whole resource sharing team is going to be there, so I'll be there, and other people that you might know from Rapido will be there as well. So it's a very, very good opportunity to come and talk. So we hope that you can make it and see you there. In addition to that, I wanted to update you that we have initiated some work with the Rapido working group, very focused on the experience of our global title index. So it's that that part, that layer of discovery that we bring back to you with Rapido. And what we're working on is actually trying to identify resource types that are not relevant at all for resource sharing. We would like to remove those from the index, but we are still not sure that everything should be removed, because we believe that some of you might think that those resources are actually things that we could potentially do resource sharing with, even if not today, but maybe tomorrow, like streaming videos. It's a good example. And we would like to have a or a list that is in aligned with the views of the whole community, and it's a big community already. So the working group is working on this, and we will of course update you if we're removing something, but this is something that is happening right now. In addition to that, that we have all of our webinars published under the Knowledge Center. So I just wanted to point out that we did 2 changes to our upcoming April sessions. So please take a look if you had already registered or you were planning to register. Take a look at the new timeline so that you have the right session in your calendars. Okay. So with this, we're moving to the April release. Okay, so this release is a support-oriented release. We do have enhancements in the release, but really one of our intentions with this release was actually improving stability, functionality, and in general, the experience of Rapido. So we just simply addressed a lot of issues that were identified by our community. Some of those were reported via support, some of those via customer success. So we did a lot of work on that. And I know the release notes are already available for you. So you can go and take a look at the things that we've fixed there. But I did want to bring here in this session three things that I think are very important that were fixed. So I want to cover them with you. First one is related to the display logic rule. So again, just if there's someone here that doesn't know what a display logic rule or DLR concisely, they're used to hide the Rapido tiles and many other services of the library, but beyond that. And you use them in different formats, for example, for a specific user group, and it's based on criteria, for example, a format of the resource or the existing of a service, like the fix that we did here. So the display logic rules that were defined for full text, when there is a full text service to hide the Rapido tile, were working well, but not for ebooks. And this is what one of the things we fixed in this release. For those of you that were affected by this, you can now take a look, and once the release is placed, of course, you can take a look and see how this is working now. The second one is a very important one. Rapido comes with the copyright rule of 5 as out of the box. You don't need to enable it, but you don't need to enable it if you don't want it. But it's configured so that if you want to work with the copyright with the rule of 5, you can do it immediately just by enabling it. Of course, you can change the copyright rule to suit other rules like 7, but the idea is that it's out there, so you don't have to deal during the implementation with the configuration. The problem was that let's say we take it as it was implemented by default 5, so as the rule of 5. The problem is that it was not only taking into account the resources published in the last 5 years, if we take that 5 as an example. So the year of publication wasn't working as expected. It was actually taking more resources than needed. And this is really important for your workflows. And we were actually waiting for this fix for a while, and it's now out there. A third fix, again, out of a bunch that I want to mention here, is that we have that recalculate partner action. I think I spoke about it about 2 releases ago. And one of the problems we had there was that when you would hit the recalculate option, the mediation rules didn't run when there was no offer. So again, this is something that we've fixed, and mediation rules run now as expected. But again, I chose 3 randomly. There are many fixes there that are important for you, so I really recommend you go to the release notes and read. I want to move now to our enhancements for this release, and as always, our user is at the center. So I want to talk a little bit about a new thing that is really important for users. I put it under the user section, but actually it is something that is also in the back of how Rapido works, and it's the multi-volume, how multi-volume for resource sharing works. I don't know if you recall, but we've done during the last releases, already over a couple of months, we've done a lot of work around multi-volume. And for example, how the locate works, etc. We did a lot of work on multi-volume. So this time, what we did has 2 phases to it. The first thing that it has is how we locate a lender, how we find a proper lender. What you're seeing here is the first volume of a multi-volume series, and the system is bringing back an offer. So now the system will actually take that metadata out of the result and look for the proper resource. So if you land in volume 2, it will look for a lender that has volume 2. But let's say this particular example is very good because there's no volume information here, but this is this is falling on the first volume. And once our user opens up the form, this is what we've added in this also, beyond the locating of the resource. The form opens up. I should have maybe brought the form as it opens up from the beginning, because at the beginning it didn't have the 2 that you're seeing here, it just came out blank. And actually this user understands that he wants volume 2. So he puts the information here. And they now have, the user has now a new button that becomes available if he changes volume information. So once he changes, and again, I'm not doing this live, but I've already clicked, I'm about to click, and you could see it here a little bit differently, because it is very clear that you can now use it. So I've added here the 2. And just to remind you, I have on the form, the user has at all times the offer that he received at the beginning. So if I go back one step, you see the 5 business days and the keep it for half a semester. So we see this here again. After a user clicks the refine offer, the same form stays, but the terms have changed. So we don't have here, you can see from your understanding of Rapido, we don't have someone in Rapido that has the volume 2, but and this is why we're receiving the terms to be supplied. That is the text that this particular institution has for things that are not in one of our pods. But if it had gone to another Rapido user, another pod, and the terms would be different, this would have changed as well. So we can guide our users to click that refine offer if they change the volume information. And if there's something that changes on the terms, they would see it. It might also be that nothing changes, because maybe it's the same pod, but it might be like in this particular case where the terms have changed. So it's important to note this and to make a note about this and decide how you want to guide your users with this new option. And now this brings me to another topic that is related but not new. And with all of these developments that we've been doing with multi-volume, is that we have a configuration that is related to multi-volume in some ways, and it's the move to branch automation. So again, the idea of Rapido, and this is why many times while you were implementing, we've told you that if you want to automate the whole process without needing to create that digitization request or the move request to the other units of the library, to the branch, that you could use the move to branch automation. And now I'm going to show you for a sec how this configuration looks. So if you don't automatically move the configuration. If I untick this part below disappears, but if I tick it, it appears. I just want to make sure that you guys check this, and you might want to check, for example, you want to change the multi-volume for items. Since we knew that the systems are very rough in the sense of how they find multi-volume, every resource sharing system actually. This is quite innovative to try to really pin the right volume, and it's hard because there are different ways of cataloging volume information. We always kind of recommended to do the automatic move, but not for multi-volume items. And I think that now is the time to reconsider that. So it's something you can decide not to do at this point and wait a little bit, but it's something that I did want to bring into your attention, because at some point, maybe you want to automate also the whole workflow also for multi-volume, if you feel comfortable with that. So something to bear in mind based on this development that we've brought to you. Okay, I'm moving forward. And let's talk a little bit about a development that is more on the corner of the staff-centric, but of course it has implications to our users. Okay, and it's the option to mediate by metadata, by the identifiers of the records. So now you can create mediation rules that are based on a list of ISBNs or ISSNs or both, in order to decide to do something. So I wanted to bring a use case that is kind of something that we've heard from our community that could be very useful to use here. And it's, for example, the case of course reading lists. So we know there are institutions that are not allowing resource sharing. The institutions themselves are not allowed to enable resource sharing for course reading resources. So it's fine, but this is the story I want to tell you so that you can kind of think about how this mediation rule can work. So this is a search that I've done, and I have here an offer, and I probably can make get that book. This book, by the way, and this is my story, is part of my course reading for 2023, okay? And this is why I want to get it. And you can see here the metadata of this same record as this ISBN. I don't know if you can see this, but just so that we remember for the next slide, the ISBN ends with 748, okay? Just for the sake of our presentation. So I created a very simple Excel file that has this ISBN, the 748. It's the whole number, actually. It needs a complete match. And this is what you need. You need to create, maybe there are tools that you can use, I don't know, but you just need to create an Excel file, one column that has the number, no need for anything else. So just one column for the identifier. Now let's go to the mediation rule setup. Okay. So I'm going to create with you through my slides a mediation rule, and my mediation rule is called mediation for course reading. Again, it's not this. I don't want to confuse you. This doesn't have to be course reading. It could be any other story that you find that is valuable for a specific list of resources where you want to mediate. In this case, I'm using the course reading example. And I'm adding parameters. One of the parameters that I now have is Excel with ISBN, ISSN. And I'm going to upload, I've selected out of the dropdown and the filer where I can find my files. I've selected actually that Excel that I showed you before. So it's my course reading 2023. And I want to recall together with you that last release, we released another action for mediation rules, which is the cancel request. And if you recall that session from, you can also add a note. So for example, if I wanted to cancel those requests automatically, I could say, cancel the request and add a note such as, this is part of our course reading list. Please reach out to your staff. I don't know, whatever you want. I'm not going to cancel them in this case. I'm not going to use that. What I'm going to use is the course reading, the labels, because I do want to see them. Maybe I need to buy more books, right? So maybe for the course, because I'm seeing too many requests coming out. Maybe I'll let it go, but there are many requests that are coming for the specific resources in a course. So in this particular case, I'm not canceling the request, but I'm using the label, a label that I have invented for this. After our patron has placed that request that I showed you initially, you can see that the mediation rules have run. They run, and the request has stopped. It hasn't been sent, even though we had an offer. So potentially, if no mediation, it could have gone through our pond. And it has the label course reading. And of course, now I want to put everything together. I have my analytics, and I have a set, and I have the many options to decide how I'm going to work with this specific type of resources. So I invite you to think about your use cases where you think that a list of resources requires mediation. Again, it doesn't have to be a course-oriented story, but maybe there's another use case where you can see this applicable. Okay, so moving to our analytics corner, because we're bringing you some developments on analytics. So I mentioned that canceled option was added the last release. On this release, we're adding the analytics for this. So now you have under borrowing canceled by mediation. So if you've added the cancellation for any type of mediation, like in my example, or any other example, you will now see this reflected on analytics. It has the values of yes or no, YN, and you can see what was actually canceled by the mediation. In addition to that, on the borrowing requests, reports related to time for material to arrival per partner, and the different options that you had there, we've changed the it was measured by minutes, and we have changed that to be measured by hours. So it was really difficult to read that minutes. So our default has changed to hours, and so that's for 2 reports, and also the resource sharing borrowing requests per requested, the format by, we've changed that to be a bar chart. We think it's more clear. And the lending request year-over-year report was also added as a standalone report and as a tab to the lending request dashboard. So a new report and a change on how things look. So I have 2 graphs here that show you that this is our now bar chart. So you can check that out once you have the release. And this is the lending year-over-year report. Okay, so you have a few enhancements here to test. I think they're wonderful. And now I want to move to our frequently asked questions, and then we'll move to your questions. Okay, so we're going to talk about mediation rules, because a lot of mediation things were discussed today. So just to make it clear, so how do mediation rules work, right? So we have a bunch of mediation rules. So something we've heard a lot is, so does Rapido just run, like before sending the request, runs all of the mediation rules and then stops the request, or it stops on the first one that suits the criteria set, and then just simply stops there? And the answer is yes, it stops there. So the first mediation rule that Rapido finds that suits that request, this is where we're stopping. So this is answer number 1 to how mediation works. Mediation rules work in Rapido. And the second question is, okay, so you've explained that. So what happens if, for example, I was stopped at mediation rule 3, missing metadata, and I added an ISBN or a something, and now the request is or added a label or something, and the request is released. Again, what happens if it meets the criteria of number 5? So if by chance you didn't fix the number 5 criteria that's going to stop the request, you could have maybe spotted it, but if you didn't, yes, the request is going to stop again, and now you'll have to see what happened. Sometimes it's very, it can happen that you thought that you had fixed everything, but actually it falls under another criteria of the mediation rule, and that's where you'll find it. So as a takeaway, and now that you understand how this works, what I would do is take a look at my mediation rules and see if they're, or, if the order makes sense. I don't know if you want to change that, but I don't think it really matters. I'm just saying it's important just to understand that, yes, Rapido falls on the first, and then it's sent again, runs again the mediation rules, and if there's something that meets that criteria again, the request will stop there. Okay, now for a second before I start, I stop this is my last slide for our month today. But before that, I'm taking off my Rapido hat and putting on my DI lead for products, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I was wanting just to make sure that you guys saw this. We sent it via our lists. We're having a webinar, very, very, very interesting webinar on the 27th of April. Registration is open. It's going to be excellent. So I invite you to participate. Once I close the presentation mode, I'll put the link for registration in the chat. I ask you also to invite your library friends, not only those of you who are here, but please make sure that everyone knows that this is a very important event. Okay, and Rapido hat again. I'm going to stop sharing, and let's see if we have some questions. And I will also share the link. in the chat. Do this. Okay, so everyone has the link now. You can use it, send it, and please attend. Okay. Okay, let's see. We have time for questions. So let me see if we have some questions from the audience. Okay, I see no questions, so I'm going to release all of you earlier, and I hope to see you at the webinar. I'm going to be there, so I'll be checking. And also, if you have anything, please contact us. You know where to find us, and we'll see you next month. Make sure you check that change that we made on our calendars and that you're registered. And thank you so much for being here with us today. Bye-bye.